We have received many questions, which is great. Therefore, we have decided to make longer Q&A videos from here on, so we can cover all or most of the great questions we get. Please continue sending us emails with questions. We like this method just as much as you seem to do. Question. One of the main questions I have is about happiness and creativity. Are they related? Is it that creating something gives happiness to one, or is creation born out of happiness? Is it possible to pick ourselves up from a terrible mental state by just sitting down and working on an art project, writing a piece of poetry, etc.? Wes's answer. Leonard Cohen, who admitted to having deep depressions, was asked if it is necessary to be depressed in order to be truly creative. His reply was spot on, in our opinion, so we paraphrase. No, I am creating despite my depression. That's what it is about. From my own experience, creating creates joy and happiness, and I also create best when I'm happy. If I'm down or depressed, I can't create. However, if I've had a low period that I've come out of, I can use my experience in my creation, if applicable. There are people who can create from a low emotional state, but I think that the best creations come when a person is happy, joyful, or at least in a balanced mood. Ariel's answer. We acknowledge that it can be very difficult to feel inspired and creative when our mood is very low. Creation can be therapeutic in the sense that if we are feeling low, we can allow those emotions to come to us the surface and be expressed through art, music, writing, etc. Often when we allow our emotions to come out and be felt or expressed, we will find our mood lifting. So no matter what, don't stop creating. Question. I also do not understand how thought, imagination is different from intuition, or are they both the same things? I sometimes fear that I am believing my imagination instead of intuition. Please substantiate the difference between intuition and imagination. Wes's answer. The main difference is that intuition comes from within you, and it doesn't necessarily carry a thought. It's a feeling in your gut or your heart areas. If you pick up on the intuition, you can start thinking about it, thought, and imagine. Thoughts are something you create in your mind, while intuition comes from the soul, spirit. The next question is long, but we think it's important, so we're going to read it in its entirety. Question. First off, thank you for keeping the dialogue open for this knowledge and wisdom. My question has to do with a topic you have not discussed since the WPP. I believe it was paper 4. One of my favorites because you postulate the minds and hearts of the so-called gods. This is in regards to the battle with Prince Ninurta and his brother Lucy. Well, Lucy, when Ninurta was done with him, when Ninurta cut off his manhood. The way you are speaking now, it is as if the anger and justice of the plight we are in can really be dealt out by these beings of legend. If we as extensions of the goddess were to do it, we would be falling into more of a trap. So Mikael was wrong to carry his wrath toward the one who raped and sold his daughter? This question has me puzzled. There is a direct correlation between us and that story. Would you agree with Ninurta's actions toward his brother Enki? I only ask this in regards to my own wrath towards these beings. I have come to realize that these battles are happening within us. I feel the anger as if it's burning me. I feel I will take it with me through the grid. Forgiveness is essential, I agree, but do you think Ninurta forgave his brother? I know it's impossible to know the minds and hearts fully of such beings in our current state, but as a mental exercise, how can we say our anger is misplaced? I guess I'm trying to justify something within myself I just can't shake. Perhaps they are getting their just course just by doing what they are doing. In their mind, I'm sure they think they are winning just as we do in some regard. So with regards to how you believe we should exit the matrix with peace and ignoring the jailers, why? When we are more powerful than them anyhow? Why do they just get to keep kicking our soul without recourse? Sorry if this is a charged question. I'm just trying to puzzle out my inner shadow. What it sounds like, though, is that the queen herself had a shadow, and so does her son. Do you think they work on themselves? Wes's answer: you bring up a very important point when you ask us whether I agree to what Ninurta did to his brother, something that is also conveyed in the Osiris-Isis-Horus myth, where Ninurta is portrayed as Set. We humans, with our emotions and our limited understanding, try to comprehend how the gods are thinking and why they sometimes do what they do. We can't, because we don't have their mindset and experiences. Also, they lack our wide range of emotions, so we don't think like them, and they don't think like us in many ways. Therefore, it's difficult to judge such a situation without being able to walk in their shoes. In the Ninurta Enki case, it was apparently an eye for an eye punishment. We also need to understand that what archangels are and why they were created. They all had different roles. Ninurta/Michael is a warrior and a defender of the queendom, so he might sometimes act from that perspective. The best we can do is not to judge at the moment. It's an Orion family feud, and we humans are stuck in between. Let them work that out so we can concentrate on us and our freedom. There will eventually be a trial in Orion, and there we have the right to say whatever is on our minds. If we can't forgive now, just postpone that part. There is a time for everything. The Orion saga is complicated, and there is more to it. We might talk about it in an upcoming video. Question: also, how to know if one is a narcissist or not, because as far as my observations are concerned, I've seen both the sides in some people, including myself. I am confused about narcissism on the whole. Ariel's answer: we absolutely can have both sides within us. Have you ever heard the parable of the two wolves? It goes something like this. An old man is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It's a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old man simply replied, the one you feed. Wes's answer: yes, we all have narcissistic traits within us, to a greater or lesser degree, without being narcissists. When you meet a person, it can be very difficult to know the difference until you know the person better. A true narcissist can't feel true empathy, compassion, caring, or love. It doesn't exist within them. They can only mimic these things by observing others and mimic it. Anyone can have a bad day, but if someone constantly feeds off you and you almost constantly feel drained, uncomfortable, invalidated, confused, misemotional, and get low self-esteem in the other person's presence, I would suggest ending that relationship, unless the person makes true and lasting changes to the better when promising to do so, with the emphasis on lasting. Question: I would like to know your opinion about Svaru from Era. She is a character that is quite popular in UFO and spirituality circles on the internet last month. She claims to be from the planet Taygeta. Other sites say Era, and that is that she is doing a mission on planet Earth this moment that was ordered by the Galactic Federation. Ariel's answer: if you have been drawn to certain information, chances are good that there is something in that information that is trying to be conveyed to you and that you need to absorb, regardless of the source of that information. As a whole, all of these galactic councils, confederations, channelers, ether races, such as the Pleiadians and the Arcturians, who claim to be giving messages and enlightenment for humanity's benefit, are all coming from within the Matrix, if they are genuine. Let's not forget, there are just as many, if not more, charlatans out there, piggybacking on the popularity of such people. Some of it is downright fake. We can't possibly know all the ones that are real or not. There are so many. The best suggestions we can offer those of you who are wanting to know if this person should be followed or not is to see how the information benefits you. Take what you can use and put the rest away. Connect your own dots to see if a person's information contributes, makes things clearer, and helps define the bigger picture you are forming for yourself. If you are not trying to form a bigger picture and just going from information to information based on the stories of other people, putting all your eggs into one basket, then changing baskets, we would suggest this is the wrong approach, as no one has all the answers. We need to, unfortunately, put the pieces of our own puzzle together. Questions. When I was learning the law of attraction, I became aware that thoughts or emotions of love, compassion, gratitude, happiness, etc. are of higher frequency, while the opposite of those, hate, anger, etc., are of lower frequency. Also, if people are clairvoyant and they can see the deceased or entities that reside in the other planes, the beings that they also see with their third eye are a match to their vibrations, and that the people who vibrate higher, maybe optimistic or positive people, can see less terrifying beings or entities, and that people who vibrate lower can see beings that are scarier, those who commit murder, suicide, etc. If these are true, why do the AIF, who were mostly and supposedly higher dimensional beings and vibrate higher than us, exhibit those actions of lower frequency like manipulation, deception, etc.? It makes me wonder why they do such things if they are higher than dimensional beings. Don't they feel empathy or compassion for us humans they have manipulated or deceived for so long? Isn't being able to feel love or compassion a trait of a higher dimensional being? Or does being a higher dimensional being not equate to having higher frequency? Shouldn't they know or feel better because they are higher dimensional, or is it because they are higher dimensional but not multidimensional? Are multidimensional beings the only ones capable of these emotions/traits, and that because we humans are multidimensional with our DNA not fully activated yet, can feel these things? Ariel's answer. What we are finding is that humans, us, want to project human qualities onto beings who are not human. Not only do they not have the same range of emotions and feelings as us, but they are also made in a completely different way. We do not know how they are made, but what their minds think how they feel or how their souls are fashioned. We cannot say they should be thinking this or why do they act like that. We only know what we would do and think. It is naive and a mistake to attribute human qualities to beings who aren't human. This applies to all of them. There is a misunderstanding about higher dimensions equaling a more benevolent being. Beings do not live in higher dimensions. They have access to higher dimensions or lower. We would have access to these dimensions, higher dimensions as well, up to a point, if we were out mingling in the universe with complete freedom. Even so, we can still access some of it while still being here. Every time you have a thought, for example, you are accessing the fifth dimension. Dimensions are confusing and very misunderstood. Are there evil thoughts in the fifth dimension? Yes, of course there are, because the fifth dimension is where every thought that has ever been thought in this reality exists. Only when that thought is brought down, made more dense, through the fourth, and eventually the third, is a vibration attached to it based on the intentions of the person holding those thoughts. Does that make sense? Question. Also, doesn't the law of karma apply to these beings, AIF, too? With all the manipulation they have done to humanity, won't whatever they have done return to them as well in some form? And if so, aren't they aware or even worried about that? Ariel's answer. There is no law of karma. This is manipulation, a manipulation tactic used to persuade us to agree to come back here for another incarnation. Questions. 1. What exactly is worship and why these gods demand human worship so much, and what or how do they benefit from this? Also, can you make a video about the same? Wes's answer. Worship is about control, energy supply, and loyalty based on pride and entitlement. Enki has positioned himself as the father god and in that sense replacing the queen as our creatrix. He looks at us as his children. In order for us to obey him, he needs to control and manipulate us. We know that Lucifer, Enki, rebelled because of his pride, and he takes pride in his position as the most brilliant archangel. He looks at himself as equal, if not more equal, than his mother. He thinks he should be the crown prince of Orion and not Ninurta. But because he's refused that position, he wants to show that he can be the god of the universe. So he took it by force. Also, when you worship someone, you give your power and energy away to that deity, who can feed from it. 2. In WPP, you mentioned the Earth, an experiment of Mother and other creator beings, as a living library, and Namlu were like the guardians of this library. But now in your videos you say that the purpose of the experiment was to face hard challenges as a tribe, and you barely mention about living library in your videos. So did the Pleiadians misinform about the library? Wes's answer. Good question. No, they did not disinform us on that subject. This is a living library, and one of our purposes is to guard and protect it, so we can grow and expand in the harsh environment. However, when the alien invader force, AIF, took over, they gave us amnesia, and we forgot why we're here. Now we are instead assisting in destroying the living library. Additionally, this is not the same living library as the one the Queen created. The original library was destroyed with Tiamat and Mars. 3. If our souls have been split and are used elsewhere in someone else's body, and if we die and decide to leave this universe, won't we need our lost soul parts in order to be whole? Wes's answer. Another good question. We expanded on the concept of soul splitting in video 86, but here's a rundown. Our original soul is intact, but is embedded in an artificial soul construct created by Enki's team. We feed this artificial soul, AS, with our genuine soul energy coming from spirit. When that part is stripped off us, in the between lives area, BLA, the genuine soul energy we submitted into this AS will still be there. Yes, we lose that part of ourselves, but it's basically just fire that we can regain from spirit. We are made of trillions of fires, and each fire contains the memories and attributes of the entire soul, the rest of the fires. So we don't lose anything except some energy which can be regained later. However, while we're incarnated, we unwittingly feed this AS with our fire, particularly during trauma and abuse, and that's why we sometimes feel low in energy. But as you've noticed, when we feel fatigue, we later regain our strength and start feeling more energetic. We get new energy from spirit. 4. Is it natural for the soul to split herself by her own will? Ariel's and Wes's answer: no, this is not natural, unless you mean when we nano-travel. Then we split ourselves in a sense, but only temporarily. We send out the fire, or a few fires, to explore while we're still incarnated in a body, but be it a human body or an ET body respectively. Then we retract the fires we send out and re-emerge with the main soul. 5. In the self-healing process, life coaches suggest techniques like remembering a sad or traumatic event from childhood and then experiencing those feelings and comforting that child self and giving them advice as an adult. My question is, in my own childhood as well as now, I hear my own inner voice speaking with me, and when I am depressed or in a difficult situation, I hear this voice in me comforting me and giving advice. Also, in my childhood, this inner voice has told me about future events a few times. Time works in weird ways. So is it possible that we have already escaped this reality and now this inner voice is our future self trying to heal and guide our now self? I hope this question makes sense. Wes's answer: yes, you make sense. If what you hear is a real voice in your head, do you recognize whose voice it is? Or does it sound like your own voice? One option is that if you experienced trauma as a child, someone always tried to comfort you, and that's the voice you hear, or you comforted yourself. If this is not the case, I'm not sure where this voice comes from. The higher self doesn't use words. It usually communicates in form of intuition or in concepts. I'm afraid I might not have a good answer for you, unless something I just said could be helpful. 6. If narcissism is like a virus and is spreading fast, and now its goal is to spread to the Ka and take over Queen's kingdom, then if we escape the grid and go to the Ka, don't we have to face narcissism there as well? So then what is the difference by being there and here if we are going to face the same challenges? Shouldn't we try to fix it here rather than escaping the grid? Could it be the reason why we came here on Earth and signed our contract with Enki or team because we knew the risks of coming here but had our own agenda, a good cause behind it? Wes's answer: yes, narcissistic traits I'm sure exist in the Ka as well. However, the way it's manifested on Earth is quite unique, using an artificial soul, AS, to create soulless humans. The entire universe is an experiment in expansion, learning, experience, and creation. Just like here, each soul is on different levels and paths. Some are creator gods, others are newborn souls, while others are anywhere on the spectrum. Many people are looking for some kind of paradise, where there are no challenges, only joy and peace. But that's not how it works. We are on a perhaps eternal quest to explore and learn. The divine feminine, the all that is not all-knowing. It's formless and infinite potential. That's all she is. We are the explorers, and we have just begun. The huge difference between here and the car is that you are not trapped within the prison matrix. You have no amnesia and there is no death. There is nothing to fix in this matrix because it is set up with Enki's rules, and this is a reality where everything dies. The rule set for this reality is already established. Why stay here when we can create infinitely in the car without facing death? 7. Is the Orion constellation we see and the Orion kingdom or queendom the same? Wes's answer. The Orion constellation we see is Enki's copy. The constellations out there do exist in the car, but the parts we see are either copies or, in certain cases, star system the AIF have conquered. Even then, if we can see them with our eyes and in telescopes, they are limited to the spectrum of visible light and not part of the car. 8. I had told you about the book Eye of Ra by Truman Cash long ago, and you said you downloaded and asked me to remind you as well. So have you read it? And if yes, then what are your thoughts about it? Wes's answer. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I simply haven't had the time. Yes, I do have the ebook, but need to wait with reading it until time permits. More Q&A sessions to come.